We start today's adventure at the Fort Grimwatch Way Shrine. This is located in the northwestern corner of Reaper's March. Our map indicates a dungeon just west of our location. With that, we have a heading. We mount up and head out. As we round the Way Shrine and get on the path, we began to notice the remains of burnt-out wrought oak pods peeking over the stone wall. This is a rather concerning sight, seeing as how none of the surrounding area has any fire damage that we can see. This must have been a deliberate attack on the residents within those homes. This doesn't look promising for our upcoming adventure, but we press on. We see an opening in this stone wall and head on in. As we pass through, we see a path leading up to an Imperial designed estate. There appears to be no damage to either the large main building or this closer, smaller outbuilding. Before approaching the main building, we first inspect this smaller building. The home is labeled Zil Vilax's house and is locked. We quickly pick this lock and head on in. And despite the house appearing as a trespassing zone, we're not given a bounty upon entry.
You should go before the guard arrives.
And further exploration of this home. There are no notes, and it appears Zilvilax has nothing to say. This isn't going to help us answer any of our questions, so we head back out. Well, that wasn't very helpful. We mount back up and proceed to head towards this main hall. As we approach, we notice that the stairs has various items around the entryway, ranging from hand tools to supplies to even leisurely items such as tables with food and drink sitting upon them. There's even armor around here, but nothing showing the signs of any type of struggle going on. Well, we don't see anything that's going to give us an answer out here. I guess we are going to have to investigate the interior of this place to get some answers. Upon entry, we're greeted with a room illuminated dimly, and it appears that every surface is overflowing with books. On a table to the left of the entryway, we find a note titled Missive from Cyrodiil, which reads as follows. Gracious, your request for more infantry is denied. Your request for more supplies is denied. Your request for more spy masters is denied. Your orders were to go into Reaper's March and destabilize the Dominion. Instead, you waste half your resources destroying one valueless village, and the rest you squander on a pointless book hunt. You will receive no further Imperial support until you start contributing meaningfully to this war. Javad Tharn, like the leader of the Stonefire cult Javad Tharn? Oh my, that's not a good sign. This Gracious guy that came in and destroyed this local village? But why? It must have been in a great cost, seeing as how his superiors are cutting him off from all of his resources for a lack of progress in the war effort. Also, what is this mention of a book hunt? We can tell the individual residing in this house was an avid reader and hunting for something related to texts. We find bookshelves of texts covering a variety of topics, but Upon further inspection, none seem to provide further context, but do add more lore books to our collection. We head upstairs looking for any clues about this Manse. Inspection of various nooks and crannies, we're not finding any hidden books or notes, but we do see that this place was well lived in. Many rooms for various people to live here, a few decorative skulls and plants. And then we step into what must have been a study, for bookshelves line the whole room, save for a small portion occupied by the window and a desk. Inspection of these texts on these bookshelves does not help us unlock any further information. It's not until we examine the desk in the room that we find Gracius's journal, Volume 2, sitting upon it. This will certainly help us understanding exactly what Gracius was doing. We open it up to confirm that this indeed appears to be the journal of Gracius, the imperial owner of the Manse. The journal rests upon the most recent entry. It reads as follows: "After years of searching, enduring a maddening hunt, I've found it. The treasure beyond all gold is buried somewhere beneath this Bosmer town. I will clear the village away, and the villagers will make ideal diggers. Wouldn't have found the path to treasure were it not for the tomb. He must have left it. Wants me to find the treasure. I won't disappoint him. I left the tomb in the cellar to remind me of my task." Well, those were some informative but yet vague journal entries. Gracius has apparently found some treasure he believes to be entrusted to him by someone? This sounds a little more like the ramblings of a madman on a wild goose chase. Maybe if we investigate this tomb further, we will come to a better understanding of what exactly this treasure worth destroying a village is. And with that, we start the quest, The Waking Dreamer. We are tasked with finding the key to the cellar. We head out of the office and investigate the surrounding area for a key to get into the cellar where the tomb is. Checking various bookshelves, benches, and wardrobes until we find the first volume of Gracius's journal. It's not a key to the cellar, but still useful to better understanding what Gracius was up to. As we kneel down to read this first volume of the journal, we see that this is a short entry reading: "I dreamed of the treasure again last night. I have no doubt about it now. Hermaeus Mora himself is speaking to me, leading me to it. I've spent my family fortune searching for tombs of power across Tamriel, and my coffers are nearly empty. But I must push on. It's nearly within my grasp. When I have the knowledge of the Apocrypha, I will no longer need to bow to the usurper Tharns. They will bow to me." Should have known a Daedric prince was involved. Apparently this Gracius believes to be being guided by the Hermaeus Mora to knowledge of Acrophysia, and Gracius believes this knowledge will make him powerful. He believes this so wholeheartedly that he has depleted all his funds and is standing in the Imperial army. Regardless of if this knowledge truly holds any power for Gracius, we still need to stop him before his blind hunt causes even more people to get hurt. We further explore this room and discover a suspicious pair of boots. and upon searching in these boots we find the Manse cellar key. With this, we head back downstairs to open up the cellar. We are immediately met with an area much larger than we anticipated. While the entryway to the cellar is filled with barrels and bags of grain, there are stairs leading further down, showing this place is more than a simple cellar. At the bottom of the stairs, we find a wood elf who appears to be in distress. We walk up and talk to her.
Welcome to the vile Manse. Do you come to aid me?
She greets us to the Manse, which is rather odd considering her predicament, but this is quickly followed with a request for aid. We first ask her who she is.
My people and I are of the village that used to stand here, before Gracchus came. He burned our homes and built a manor over the remains. I am the last villager, the last spinner, kept alive for stories of ones who worshipped ancient dark gods.
Oh no, this woman is one of the villagers, and the last one at that. She describes herself to be a spinner, which is a historian for the Bosmeri people. We ask her if she wants to be freed.
In doing so, you'd have the gratitude of this spinner. With my fate goes the memory of the village.
Well, we're too late to help anyone else. At least by saving this person, this village's story won't be lost. And with that, we get the quest, Song of the Spinner. We quickly untie her, and Methriel makes her way to her feet. After giving her a second, we talk to Methriel.
I thank you. If you are braving the cellars further, I would ask again for your help. On behalf of all my people.
Well, we were planning to investigate this place further anyway, so offering our assistance to her is gonna be no bother, and it's the least we could do for somebody who has already lost so much.
There are 3 villagers who died before I could learn their stories. Norvir, Fardel, and Thara. Their vessels remain in this cellar, and it is my hope that their belongings do as well. If I could hold their belongings, I could hear their stories.
She tells us about 3 villagers who we need to retrieve items from them for her to learn their stories. While we might be too late to save them, we can at least help Methriel in her desire to preserve their people's stories.
You are most gracious. I cannot risk the tunnels. I live for more than myself. I must trouble you to do this alone. I'll meet you above, at the docks.
Methriel is right. This is too dangerous for her to accompany us, and if she were to perish down in the depths of the cellar, then no one from her village would remain. We watch as she heads out of the cellar to a safer location on the docks. It looks like this delve into a simple cellar is going to be way more complicated. It's time to summon the assistance of our delve enthusiast ally, Mary. We round the corner and are face to face with our first enemy. This is a Highland assassin. The Highland is a member of the Imperial Legion, Legion of the West Weled, led by General Lavia Axius. This legion is commonly found throughout the northern region of Reaper's March, explaining their presence here in the Manse. We examine a group of these Legion members guarding a pile of books. This must be where our tool of interest is. After making quick work of these foes, we investigate a mysterious tomb and a vision of Hermaeus Mora appears before us.
Oh, another of you come seeking Hermaeus Mora, and that is me. Perhaps you will prove greater than Gracchus. He holds the Ogmar Infinium, where lies the beginning of knowledge. Yours if you slay him. Find the descent to the caves below. He is there.
And as quick as he appears, he's gone, and we're given an ominous task. We are to slay Gracius if we want to retrieve this Ogma Fidium. Hermaeus Mora states that Gracius can be found further down the cellar.
Move to flank!
Roll! Roll if you can!
Take a brief look at our map to discover this place is much larger than we anticipated, and more complicated. Best to reference this frequently to minimize the number of times we get lost. We see another set of stairs nearby and head down them to discover more piles of supplies and an opening in a wall to the right. We head through this opening to see yet more stairs leading downwards. We also discover a seat with a frozen body upon it. Upon accidentally interacting with it, we quickly get up and walk away from this awkward situation. We follow the corridor down more stairs and find Imperial soldiers. Along with these soldiers, we see frozen corpses in a running position. What could have caused these bodies to not only get stuck in these positions, but also remain frozen? As we round the next corner of this corridor, we see a hallway lined with cells on each wall, cages dotting the hallways and skeletons hanging from the ceilings and lying in every nook. We also encounter more Imperial soldiers that Miri and I quickly make work of. We backtrack to the first cell on the right to find the body of Fairdell. This is the first of the 3 individuals the spinner asked us to retrieve items from. Upon searching his body, we locate an item we believe to be suitable. He appears to not be the only one that has been held in the cell. Lying next to him was a skeletonized body still clutching a bundle of notes. Not knowing how long the atrocities of the vile Manse has been going on, we are left to assume that this is another fellow spinner that has perished much earlier. As we walk down the hallway lined with prison cells, we find one with 2 frozen bodies in it. One is slumped next to the cell door, while the other is in a kneeling position, begging, possibly in their final moments of life before being frozen. We see more cells and more deceased prisoners as we rush our way down the hallway towards some sunlight poking through. It appears as though the ceiling of this tunnel has begun to deteriorate, revealing glimpses into the bright Reaper Marches terrain outside. How torturous this must have been for the prisoners, to be able to see light not but a few feet away, but having no hope ever feeling its warmth. We reach the bottom of the stairs to find more signs of occupancy of these tunnels. Torches and lanterns are lit, casting adequate light upon the various tables and crates that line the hall. We continuously reference our map so as to try and keep from getting too lost in this maze of tunnels. We see a fellow adventurer and watch as he heads off. but we have our objective leading us the other direction. This path leads us into another opening, but instead of some homey furnishings, we are greeted with various iron maidens, some shut tight, others propped open with ice corpses. These appear to have been rather used. Then we spot the next spinner Methriel asked us to locate. But first, we need to clear out a couple of Imperials blocking our path.
Flank, now!
Good teamwork, Mary. After the dust settles, we see the body of Norvir lying at the entrance of this cell. We retrieve a suitable item from this body. We reference our map and see where we are supposed to be headed. But before we head that way, let's go investigate this opening. We see this hole is very deep, with no apparent way of getting back out. For now, let's find that last spinner's belonging before we dive in.
I need healing.
We are greeted with the help of various adventures as we navigate around these narrow corridors. Everyone rushing around to do their part to clear out this cellar.
I'm still here. Thanks
On
for
the walls
asking.
of these hallways, we find skeletons mixed into the very rocks of the foundation. How long has the torture been going on here that it's literally part of the foundation? More cages and strung up skeletons clutter this already narrow corridor. Oh, light poking through the ceiling. Did we head the wrong way? A second glance confirms that this is a new area. It appears that much of this place is falling apart. At the bottom of this stairwell, we find yet another batch of enemies. Mary and I make quick work of them and head back down. There appears to be a workstation and various tables being guarded by some Imperials and their wolves. Mary and I backed into a corner, we fight our way out. And then head back to go investigate this workstation. There are candles illuminating various texts and alchemical equipment. Bags and books are strewn across the table, and in the very center we find experimental journal. It reads as follows. At first, deaths of my Bosmer slaves were problematic. Acquiring more would be difficult, and Cyrodiil is unlikely to send me more men. My lack of skill with necromancy has ever been a thorn in my side, making an undead workforce improbable. This is until I found the Book of the Frozen Legion. Within its pages was a brilliant solution, a layer of conjured frost encased around a human corpse, with a loyal spirit bound to the ice, commanding the spirit in turn commands the body through the ice. There are limitations. The beings that result from the technique are as intelligent as a necromancer's skeleton, which is to say, not at all. They are incapable of all but the most basic tasks. Without constant attention and direction, they are just as likely to wander out into the sun, where the ice will melt, as they are to finish whatever work you've left them. As we set the book down, we look back to the chaos unfolding behind us as we jump into the fray. When did these guys sneak up on us? Mary, I'm gonna say this is your fault. Now that things have quieted down, we further inspect the area to see a makeshift noteboard with Daedric runes and scraps of paper spread across it. We can't decipher anything from these mad ramblings. To the left of the board, we find the last victim the spinner was wanting us to find. Their name is Thara. She appears to have fallen prey to this unnamed researcher's ice experiments. Her body was left kneeling with upturned palms. Fortunately, we are able to find a suitable item to return to Mithril.
I didn't know you were interested in that genre. I'll have to remember that.
And with that, we have retrieved significant items from the 3 victims that the spinner requested us to. Now, we head our way back to investigate that opening we saw earlier. We fight lots of soldiers, get lost, fight some more soldiers, backtracking, and eventually make our way back to the opening. I wasn't kidding when I said this place was a complete maze, and regardless of my constant checking of the map, I still am able to get myself lost. Peering down into this hole, we hesitate for a moment, and well, guess there's nothing we can do to safely get down there, so we just go for it. Fall past layers and layers of excavation, bumping our way down into this hole, till finally we land with a splash. This appears to be a pool of water in a cave opening. How deep does this place go? We swim our way out of this water and get onto land.
Down the tunnels, in the ruins of the Swallowed City. That is where you will find Gracchus and the Ogma Infinium. Prove yourself his better and take it. He was once a promising subject, but he will never be an ageless one. Perhaps you will.
Hermaeus Mora appears to us, and he states that Gracchus and the Ogma Amphibium are up ahead. All we have to do is take him down to retrieve this relic and gain the power for ourselves. This certainly sounds like a sweet deal, but we know better than to trust anything a Daedra says. Before we head up to go do this, we explore this opening and find a lone Ayleid well, a few more ore mines to harvest. Nothing of note. So we best be on our way. As we crest the hill, we see a small Imperial camp set up.
You lead.
Miri and I clear them out in a short work and loot us a few corpses. We look off to the right of the campfire to where the sunlight is filtering down the rock formations. Maybe there's another way out over there? We approach with caution and nope, only a large Daedra named Zevat Golak that looks ready for a fight. Well, we might as well give him one. He throws a few good punches and we sidestep his giant flame attack. Give him a few more good boops on his snoot, and he's down. We loot the runestone.
Nothing wrong with a little opportunistic harvesting.
And further investigation of this little nook reveals the sky shard back here. Well, no way out, but at least we got some goodies. And with that, we head back to that campfire, and more Imperials are back.
Hey, stick with me.
I need aid!
We clear them out and head our way back into this narrow path.
Would it kill them to run away? Well, no, I guess it wouldn't. Maybe they should try that.
Mary, did you ever give them a chance to run away? You are pretty savage yourself, you know. Anyway, we head further down this narrowing cave, and just as the path begins to flatten out, we spot our first skeletal Ravager. These must be the successful products of the experiments we read about earlier. It is a shame to think about the fact that they all used to be peaceful wood elves living in this area, that were taken prisoners and used as test subjects. But there's nothing we can do for them now other than put them out of their misery.
We can do this! Split up!
Mary, I'm not the one panicking, are you?
In a big family, you have to know how to scrap.
Regardless, we clear out some more Imperials and keep heading down this path.
Bet they never saw that coming.
Vines are draping from the ceiling, and we encounter more of these skeletal Ravagers and their Imperial keepers still standing beside them. As we slowly make our way through this path, we can't seem to make it more than 3 feet without finding more soldiers. This has to be a good sign that we're getting close to where Gracchus is. Or at least where something of value is. The path continues to wind down even further. I wonder how deep we've gone by this point. What perfect place to store your frozen army than deep within the chilled earth? Certainly better than trying to make use of them in the arid terrain of Reachbur's March.
Easy! Let your magica recover!
Up ahead, we notice an opening, and there are makeshift wood elf tents and totems dotted around the room. This must have been where they kept their prisoners before they worked them to death. Not only their reanimated icy remains reside here alongside their Imperial captors. Looking around the room in the upturned furniture, it doesn't appear that there's been any living residents of this area for quite a while.
Spread out! You can make it! Keep moving!
We clear out the last of them, and the opening of this area narrows back into a small path. So much for getting out of this claustrophobic hallway. This place is just as winding and confusing as the upper portion was. We round a corner and, well, at least we get a change of scenery.
Try breaking free!
The rocks and vine-covered walls transition to snow and ice as the tunnel heads even deeper down. Down here there are frost atronachs guarding the tunnels, while these large foes are intimidating due to their size. They do have very slow attack patterns, making them easy to avoid. The path divides off left and right, so investigating the right path first, we discover the remains of Primalist Orda. This was a skeletal champion that the adventurer we just passed must have taken care of for us. We double back and go investigate the left path to discover it to be just a dead end, with naught but a runestone in the very corner for us to harvest. That leaves just the central corridor for us to investigate, which yet again goes even deeper. Icicles dangle from the ceiling, making a claustrophobic hallway feel even smaller. Although finally we get some reprieve from this harrowing hallway and see an expansive frosty chamber before us. Perched on the far wall of this chamber is what appears to be a dilapidated alien ruin that is held in place by the very ice covering every surface of this room. As we approach the center of this clearing, we see Gracius. We get in a sneak attack before he can react to our presence. He protests at our attempt to stop him and unleashes an attack that appears to have black tentacles spawning from the floor. This stuns both me and Gracius. Mary appears to be unaffected and continues her assault. The tentacles subside and we are able to resume our onslaught. And with that, it's over. The monster Gracius is defeated and we are left to retrieve the Ogma Infidium. We interact with the item only to have our room flash white with light as we clutch our heads and scream. As the room comes back into view, we see Hermaeus Mora before us.
And so the Infinium becomes mine again, as it always does. You performed well against Gracchus.
Wait, where did the Ogma Infidium go?
Safely returned to its home in Apocrypha. I would not risk you against its secrets, but I will not leave you empty-handed.
So while we didn't receive the Ogma Infidium in its entirety, we did get the memento Discourse Amaranthine, and with that we complete the quest The Waking Dreamer. Not the immense power we were promised, but hey, how do you expect Daedric deals to go?
You have proven most useful, unlike many before you.
We ask Hermaeus Mora to explain what exactly these ruins are.
These ruins under the Manse Vile are the remains of a city of myrrh twice forgotten. Here, the children of Auriel trifled with knowledge that was beyond them. The dirt swallowed them. Their descendants tried to rebuild, but then came Gracchus.
Oh my, this place sounds horribly cursed. I wonder if the knowledge that these ancestors sought was the Ogma Infidium itself. We inquire further about what exactly Gracius was trying to do.
He sought the power to end some petty conflict of men and myrrh above. But his want is irrelevant. Gracchus showed promise when he glimpsed the Infinium and survived its cosmic ululation. but he ultimately proved mundane.
Oh, so while Gracius wanted power, Hermaeus Mora let him go along with his plans due to Gracius' ability to withstand the cosmic relations that come with viewing the Imphidium. But Hermaeus Mora still became bored of him. On that note, we press Hermaeus Mora further about why we didn't receive the Ognum Imphidium, as he had alluded to being our reward.
You were told what you needed to hear to become effective. You should cherish the gift you've been given. It is a leaf from Apocrypha. Only delectable knowledge will you find within its pages.
So, he strung us along with a partial lie to get us to do his dirty work. Typical Daedra. And with that, Hermaeus Mora has no more knowledge to impart upon us, and we bid him farewell. We navigate to our Collections tab under Mementos to find our page of the Infinium that Hermaeus Mora gifted us. Oh, this is rather unpleasant. Maybe for the best we didn't receive more than a glimpse of this item. We look around and spy a convenient door leading back outside to Reaper's March. I can only imagine how much climbing it took to get out of this pit. As we step out, we're greeted with an overcast view of the back side of the vile Manse and a river down below us. Well, there doesn't appear to be another way down, so guess we're gonna have to just jump. Geronimo! As we bob to the surface, we see Marethel safely waiting for us on the dock. We walk up to her and talk.
Those are the items I seek. Give them to me, and I will learn their place in the story of my people.
She eagerly greets us. Bet she's been waiting a while. We did get lost a few times. We do as she says and gives her the various items we've retrieved.
You've done my people a great service, friend. You may stay and learn the stories of these people with me if you desire.
And with that, we complete the quest, Song of the Spinner. We watch as she sets out the 3 items. The first person we learn about is the owner of the wooden mug.
Fardal was never far from this mug. After the death of his wife to plague, he found comfort only in drink. He was loved and supported, but never escaped the darkness. He lived a life of quiet melancholy. Gracchus ended that quiet, ended everything.
How sad that someone that had already had so much taken away from them and was a widow who just wanted to quietly live out his days and his peaceful life was ripped away from him. We then inquire about the cracked hourglass.
Thara lived her life by the hourglass. She scheduled everything. She had a place for everything. Her life was order. Some jested she was switched with an Ultima child at birth. With order came happiness for her. Gracchus ended both.
This is the story of a simple woman who found value and happiness in her life through order. It is fitting that just as the sand of the cracked hourglass has been scattered, the owner's life was brought into chaos by Gracchus. Finally, we inquire about the lute.
Norvir loved this lute, but never played a note. Every day he came home from the market to stare lovingly at the lute. Someday, he thought, when I retire, I'll have all the time to play. That day came, but so did Gracchus.
This lovingly cared for family heirloom was never able to be truly appreciated by its owner.
Lives that have passed from the plains only go on in the memory of the living. and their stories only live so long as there are those who tell them. Inspect the relics if you wish. Each contains a story I can tell.
What a sad story about waiting for the right time that never came. And with that, we have learned the stories of the 3 victims we helped retrieve items for. What are your thoughts on this story? I found it insightful to attach names and stories to the people that we were too late to save. While we might not have been there in time to help them, at least we can do our part to remember their stories, for they had hopes, dreams, and plans for their future. While some disgusting people like Gracchus are blinded by their own greed and obsession with power, some just want a simple, peaceful life. At least no others are going to suffer in the depths of the cellar. We have completed the whole story of the Vile Manse. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, if you like my content and want to see more, make sure to like the video and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future locations we should explore, leave a comment down below. If I intentionally select a location because of your comment, I will make sure to give you a shout out. If nothing else, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you around next time for our next adventure.